Local pool. And the first event is the women's 100-meter freestyle. Joan Pennington, 20-year-old junior, University of Texas, lane 1. Carol Klippel, 17-year-old Canadian in lane 2. The youngest American, 13-year-old Heather Strang in lane 3. Susie Thayer from Winter Haven, Florida, high school senior in lane 4. Susan Havernig from Oregon is in lane 5. 18-year-old Annie Lett of the United States is in lane 6. Kathy Smith from Kirkland, Washington in lane 7. And another American, 17-year-old Ann Tweedy, will be coming out of the pool in a moment from Santa Barbara. She'll enter Stanford University in the fall, starting from lane 8. Barbara Kraus of East Germany set the world record at the Moscow Olympics at 54.79. Sippy Woodhead holds the U.S. record held last year, 55.63. So we'll be checking that out as we get underway in Hawaii. Women's 100-meter freestyle. And starting out quickly in lane 4 is Susie Thayer. She's the best sprint newcomer in the United States, and this is her first year of competition. 2 laps of this 50-meter pool here at Hawaii. Thayer in lane number 4 is in front, and there she is now getting ready for her turn. And her split time, 27.1 at the 50. She trails Barbara Kraus's world record, but right now she's better than Sippy Woodhead's American mark by 32. Lane 4, Susie Thayer, 17 years old, a senior at Bartow High School in Florida. And she is going to win going away here. Susie Thayer ahead, and Susan Havernig in lane 5 is in second place right now. Annie Lett in lane 6 is third. And Susie Thayer wins her time 56.2. That's the third best time ever by an American. And now let's take a look at the turn at the 50-meter mark. And as we said, the split time was ahead at that point of the American record. Right now, she's with Mark Schubert.
Susie, fine swim. That's your best time this season by more than 6 seconds, or 0.6 of a second, and faster than the winning time at the national AAUs. What do you think helped you improve your time so much?
Taking it out faster and just putting my head down and getting into the wall.
You feel the better you get out that first 50 in the 100-meter sprint, the better the race is going to be?
Yes, sir, definitely.
You were 27.1 this time. How much better was that than your swim at the nationals?
Probably about 3 or 4 tenths, maybe.
Fantastic effort. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
And the finalist, Susie Thayer's time would have been good for 4th place at the Moscow Olympics. Now we're ready for the men's 100-meter freestyle. 25-year-old Gary Schatz, who's a fast starter. 20-year-old Chris Kirshner from Solon, Ohio, senior at the University of Texas this year. Here's Greg Kraus. He's from Dallas, Texas. In lane number 4, coming up, Scott Findorf, who's a 100-meter freestyle specialist, so this should be to his liking. In lane number 5 is Jim Montgomery, number 3 all-time, with a 49.99 time in this event. In lane number 6, from San Jose, 18-year-old Chris Kavanaugh. Richard Thornton from the University of California, they're the NCAA champions, is in lane 7. And a man who holds dual U.S. citizenships. He lives in Jacksonville. He competed in the Moscow Olympics, David Zubero, who is 21 years old. The men's 100-meter freestyle, as you look at Scott Findorf, the world record, Jonty Skinner of South Africa, set in 1976, 49.44. Rowdy Gaines this April at 49.61 in Austin, Texas, has the American record. 6 of the field of 8 finalists rank on the all-time world list. And we're underway. Chris Kavanaugh in lane 6 starts out with the lead. Shots had been figured to take the early lead, but Kavanaugh is out strong. Scott Findorf is right there. 76 Olympic champion Jim Montgomery also there. And the split time, 24.7 by Kavanaugh. And that's below the world and American records. Findorf now in lane number 4 has the lead. Jim Montgomery in lane 5 is second. Kavanaugh, lane 6, is in 3rd place. Kavanaugh has the second best world mark of 50.19 as they go across the finish line. The winner is Scott Findorf with a time of 50.96, and that would have been good for 3rd place at Moscow. We're going to take a look at the finish right now. Scott Findorf, who lives in Madison, Wisconsin. He's on the U.S. national team in '78, but hasn't won a title, and he's with Mark Schubert right now.
Scott, this is your first major international victory. How does that feel?
Feels great. It was a good race, and things just worked out right.
You've been one of the top U.S. swimmers since 1974. Are you going to continue to swim at the age of 24?
Well, that's a good question. I'd like to, but it depends on work and all those sort of things. You know, I think I have a lot left in me, but we'll see how it works out.
Congratulations on your victory, and hope to see you here next year.
Thank you.
Findorf wins in the men's 200-meter breaststroke. Coming up next. Breaststroke in the Hawaii International Swimming Invitational, and Masao Aoki of Japan will begin from lane 1. Hiroshi Kabatani, another Japanese, will start from lane number 2. He's an Asian Games silver medalist in both breaststrokes. A newcomer to international competition, 17-year-old Marco Veilleux of Canada, will start from lane number 3. And American David Lundberg, who's the leading qualifier in these trials for this event. He's from Provo, Utah, begins from lane number 4. And Bill Barrett, who set a world record in the 200 individual medley at Irvine at the Olympic trials, is in lane number 5. Canadian Ken Fitzpatrick in his first international competition in lane 6. American Jim Johnson, who helped University of California to 2 consecutive NCAA titles, begins from lane number 7. And from the People's Republic of China, Lin Wang, who's 21 years old. He is probably China's top male swimmer and best performer in this particular event. The world record set by David Wilkie of Great Britain at the Montreal Olympics in 1976 is time to keep in mind 2:15.11. John Henkin holds the American record, also set at those Olympics at 2:17.26. The men's 200-meter breaststroke. 4 laps on this 50-meter pool. Starting off, Bill Barrett in lane number 5 and David Lundberg in lane number 4, the 2 Americans taking the early lead, and good starts for both. There is Barrett from Cincinnati, Ohio, a strapping youngster, 6'2", 185 pounds. He attends UCLA. At the 50-meter first turn, the split time 32.1, and that is below both the American and world records. And Barrett has assumed the lead here. Marco Veilleux of Canada, the youngster, showing very well thus far. But here is Bill Barrett, who's the American record holder in the 200-yard breaststroke and the 200-yard individual medley. We'll never forget his performance at Irvine when he smashed the record in the 200 individual medley. At the 100-meter mark, halfway, Barrett in command with a time of 1:07.32. Lundberg of the U.S. is in second. Marco Veilleux of Canada is in third place. Veilleux is in lane number 3. And Hiroshi Kabatani of Japan, starting from lane 2, is in fourth. And Barrett opens up the lead. In the 1980 Olympics at Moscow, Roberta Zulpa of the Soviet Union won the event, setting a mark that is now second all-time at 2 minutes 15.85 seconds. At the 150-meter mark, the last turn, Bill Barrett with a split time of 1:43.7, and that's well behind the world and American record. He has improved greatly in the last couple of years, and Barrett says he attributes his improvement to great coaching, great facilities, motivation, and most of all, believing in myself. Bill Barrett of the United States in front, and now Marco Veilleux of Canada coming up from lane 3 is moving into second place. David Lundberg in lane 4 is in third. And Aoki of Japan is in lane number 4. But he's quite a machine, is this Bill Barrett of the United States, and he wins the event. His time, 2 minutes and 20.45 seconds. And that was place finish at the Moscow Olympics. As you take a look at Bill Barrett congratulating young Veilleux, and a look at his superb stroke. The Eastern Europeans have the top 3 times in the world this year at the 200-meter. The Americans are best at the 100-meter as we look at Bill Barrett. 20-year-old from Cincinnati attending UCLA, and he's now with Mark Schubert.
Bill, it's been quite a year for you. 2 wins at the NC2As, a world record in the 200 IM at the Long Course National, and now your first international victory here. How's it feel?
It feels very good, Mark. I put in a lot of time and work this year, and it seems like it's all paying off for me. I win here tonight. I knew I had to get out fast because the other people in the race would finish stronger than me if I didn't. So I swam the race the way I wanted to, and it worked out, you know, the best for me.
So once again, here's a look at the winners in the men's 200-meter breaststroke. 18-year-old Scott Newkirk of the Virgin Islands, Schumelt, the youngest Canadian. He's 15, lane 2. 20-year-old Park of the U.S., lane 3. Barry White, 19, from the U.S. is lane 4. Rafael Escalas of Spain, he is in lane number 5. American from Joliet, Illinois, Dave Sims, lane 6. Amir Ganil of Israel is in lane 7. And P. Shangasiri of Thailand, lane number 8. Not an Olympic event for men. And we're underway. And Hackett, who's a senior at Harvard. It's rare to find an Easterner doing well in swimming events. Most of them come from California or Arizona. But Hackett, a fast starter, is in the lead. This 800-meter freestyle race, 16 laps in this Duke Kahanamoku pool. And Hackett in lane number 3 has the lead. And we will be back to show you more of this 800-meter freestyle when we return in just a moment. Pick up the action in the men's 800-meter freestyle. And Bobby Hackett in lane 3 had been the leader, but now Barry White in lane 4. There's his coach at Stanford, Skip Kenny, rooting him on. And what a story this could be. Barry White, 19 years old, who just completed his freshman year at Stanford University, has never won a major title. In fact, as the U.S. team roots their swimmers on, this is White's first international trip. We now have just under 200 meters remaining, 4 laps to go in this 800-meter freestyle. Keep in mind that the world record set by Russia's Vladimir Salnikov at 7:56.49. And the American record, Brian Goodell, at the recent Olympic trials at Irvine, 7:59.66. We don't expect any record here. It is a 2-man race, and Barry White is in front right now. Bobby Hackett had a lead of nearly 2 seconds at the 100 meters, and then White started to close the gap and took over just about midway of this race. And you can see as Kenny exhorts White on, the swimmers who are being lapped, and this is a 2-man race all the way. Barry White in control. Coming up to the 100-meter mark, Barry White, 5'10", 150 pounds, is in front. Bobby Hackett from Yonkers, New York, 6'1", 190, who is a year older than White, is in second place, and White has the lead. Hackett, at the 100 and 200 meters, was ahead of the American mark set by Goodell just a couple of weeks ago. But the pace has slowed, but not the intense competition. And Barry White, who has never won a major championship. In fact, he said he came to the Nationals not expecting any trips. Here he is in Hawaii, didn't bring enough clothes, and it's now head-to-head as we set for the final 50 meters, and it's anyone's race. Bobby Hackett, closest to you, and there you saw one of the swimmers who's been lapped, and there is Coach Kenny urging on White, and White has a chance. It's anyone's race right now, coming in for the finish of this men's 800-meter freestyle. And farthest from you is White. Hackett closest to you in lane number 3. And what a finish this will be. White has a slight lead right now, and he goes underneath and wins it. Barry White, who will enter his sophomore season at Stanford University, as we take a look at this tremendous finish. And Barry White went underneath to touch the finish line ahead of Bobby Hackett, who had the early lead. So an exciting race. Barry White with a time of 8:04.24, unofficially the 6th best in the world this year. Bobby Hackett of the U.S. second, and Dave Sims third. And as we take a look now at the final medal count in the Hawaii International Swimming Invitational, the United States, as expected, dominated with 73 medals. Canada had 19, Japan third, and what an event it was. The United States excelling.
Breathing towards against each other. Goodell breathes on the right side. He's looking at Bruner. Bruner on his left. However, when they flip with only one more lap to go, both swimmers will not be able to see each other because they're breathing opposite of each other.
Brian Goodell, 21 years old, from Mission Viejo, California, just down the road. Mike Bruner, 24 years old, from Los Altos, California, upstate. Both of them former Olympic gold medalists. Two of the greatest names in American swimming, and right now, one of the greatest battles we've seen in these championships in years. It is Bruner who has taken the lead as they come down toward the wall. And Mark, I think Mike Bruner's going to do it.
Bruner looks like he's going to win. He didn't go out that fast in the first 100, and he's done it.
Mike Bruner touches in 3:52.19, and that is slower than the world record and also slower than Solnikov's gold medal time at Moscow. It would have been good enough for a silver medal, and Goodell's finishing time of 3:52.99 would have been good enough for a bronze. There's a disappointed Brian Goodell, but he can't be too disappointed because he lost to a man that he is bound to admire and respect, Mike Bruner. Once again, final results. Bruner the winner. Goodell finishes second, and well back, Brian Roney got third.
Hey, man, I want natural light.
Championships. We're in their second head-to-head matchup of the meet. Mike Bruner has evened the score against Brian Goodell. Bruner is swimming in the last big meet of his career, and following the 400-meter race, he reflected on his emotional response to the Moscow boycott.
Regardless of what anybody wants to believe, they took more than just an Olympic Games, a swim meet, or some kind of championships. They took something that's really intangible, a feeling about the competition and about trying to win, and also no matter how hard anybody wants to try, the atmosphere here is nothing like an Olympic trials or an Olympics or any of that sort for me. I'm sure it is for a lot of kids who've never really been in Olympic trials because they don't really know what it's like. But for someone who's been there, it doesn't compare at all.
One who hasn't been there, though she's such a big name it would almost seem as though she has, is this woman, 17-year-old Tracy Calkins, last year's Sullivan Award winner as the nation's top amateur athlete. She has already won 3 individual titles in this meet, though on her way to the third one in the 200-meter breaststroke, she had a rocky moment or two. She turned in 1:53.58 at 150 meters. That's about 45 hundredths of a second off of what Lena Kashishita did in Moscow. But right now, amazingly, 15-year-old Terry Baxter, who will be a junior at Palo Alto High School, is coming on to press her. Terry Baxter, 19th in the world this year, 3 seconds off of Calkins' best time with her best time, may have pulled ahead with 10 meters to go. It's a very tight battle coming down to the wall, and this would be the biggest upset at this meet if Baxter is able to pull it off. She does. Terry Baxter touches first. And Tracy Calkins touches. No, the scoreboard has called it an official tie.
Unbelievable.
It was almost unbelievable, but the scoreboard told the story. Calkins in lane 4 and virtual unknown Terry Baxter in lane 5, a dead heat at 2:34.66. Now the women's 200-meter individual medley event. World record 2 minutes 13 seconds flat, set by Petra Schneider of East Germany earlier this year. The American record, 2:13.69, held by Tracy Calkins, and that was the world record before Schneider's great swim in May.
Take your mark.
Very quickly, the rest of the field from top to bottom of your screen. Lane 1, Julie Jinden. Lane 2, Ann Tweedy. Lane 3, Karen LaBerge. Lane 4, Calkins. Lane 5, Nancy Hogshead. Lane 6, Joan Pennington. Lane 7, Kim Carlisle. Lane 8, Rhonda Raitt. They will swim 1 length each, a butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and then freestyle. And Tracy Calkins will get a lot of competition during this butterfly segment.
Yeah, Nancy Hogshead is going to give her a little push here on the fly, but I'm afraid the rest of the race, Tracy's just out on her own like she was in the 400 IM. She's only 6/10 off the world record. If in a little faster pool with a little more head-to-head competition, she could eclipse that world record time.
She turned in the lead at 50 meters in 28:35, 4/10 of a second ahead of her American record pace. And she has a solid lead over Hogshead in lane 5. Hogshead, who's a perennial finalist in this event, but has never been able to beat Tracy. Down in lane 6, Joan Pennington is the only other one who still has contact. The rest of the field has dropped back. Coming up, though, is the breaststroke leg, and you might watch for Ann Tweedy up in lane 2 to get into contention during this segment. She is perhaps the premier breaststroker in the field. 1:03.19 at 100. 100 meters. That is very close to world record time.
Well, Tracy's just a little bit slow at the 100, but this is obviously her strongest leg, and I just can't help but believe that if Schneider was in that pool right next to her, especially on this last freestyle leg coming up, that she'd have a real crack at that record of 13 flat.
Tracy has definitely suffered this year from the lack of international competition as a mark of how much she dominates breaststroke and individual medley events in the United States. She's only 17 years old, but if she wins this race, it will be her 27th national championship.
142.82. It's still slightly slow, but as I said before, if Schneider was right there and she was looking at her every breath to her left, she would have a crack at it. But swimming out here by yourself and trying to sprint that last lap, it's awfully difficult trying to shave off hundreds and thousands of seconds.
She has had great difficulty here producing winning times which surpass the times of the winners in Moscow. Frankly, the rest of the world has improved greatly in Tracy's events in the 2 years since she won 5 gold medals at the World Championships. She touches in a finishing time of 2:14.64, about a second over her American record. Another easy victory, the 4th individual championship of the meet for Tracy Calkins. A little disappointed, but she remains one of the queens of American swimming. Again, the results: Calkins the winner in 2:14.64. Second place, Nancy Hogshead. Third, Joan Pennington. Man of American swimming, John Henkin, 26 years old, who won this event at the Olympics in Munich in 1972. Lane 3, Bill Barrett, 20 years old from Cincinnati, the NCAA champion in this event. Lane 4, the bright young talent of American swimming in this event, 16-year-old John Moffitt from nearby here in Balboa, California. Second in this event a year ago at age 15. Lane 5, 18-year-old Glenn Mills from Cincinnati, who is the indoor champion in this event. He's a contender to win it. Rick Metter, 22 years old, just graduated from LSU. He'll be swimming in lane 6. Lane 7, 19-year-old John Simons, another man who could win it. The defending champion in this event, now a sophomore at Stanford University. And lane 8, the man who won the world championship in West Berlin 2 years ago with his incredible swim in lane 8. 19-year-old Nick Nevitt from Elm Grove, Wisconsin at the University of Texas. Back in lane 8, Mark, where he was so successful at Berlin in 1978.
Yeah, Nick feels secure in that lane. He could steal the race if he goes out fast enough.
But here's the leading qualifier, 16-year-old John Moffitt in lane 4. He was only 8 years old when Henkin, who will be swimming in lane 2, won his gold medal in this event at Munich. Mark Spitz, truly balanced field. Any number of swimmers could win.
Well, the interesting thing here is that Bill Barrett, swimming in lane number 3, went out the fastest in the trials, and yet he was still a half a second off the pace of the world record set by David Wilkie from Great Britain back in the 76 games of Montreal.
There is Barrett, and now they are up on the blocks, just about ready to begin.
200 meters, breaststroke. Climb to the start, please. Take your mark.
They're in the water. Remember, Henkin, 26 years old, is up in lane 2. Moffitt, 16 years old in lane 4. John Simons, 19 years old in lane 7. Those are all 3 strong swimmers, but Mark, I know you think that Barrett in lane 3 is the man to beat. He's a very physically big and strong swimmer. And right now, in a repeat performance from his World Championship effort in West Berlin, Nick Nevitt has taken the lead in lane 8. We've seen this before.
Well, Nick, if he can get out there, he certainly gets pumped up by the crowd, and the crowd is starting to see what he's doing. It's really important when they come off that turn to not take a breath. He just took a breath. You don't want to take a breath because you start to drop your waist and you start to sit in the water. Remember that the thrust of the legs must be propelled. Propulsion must come from the bottom of the feet. It would appear at some times that maybe some of the swimmers are using a dolphin kick. That's okay if it's in the act of recovering the legs for the future thrust of that leg kick.
The man in the close-up shot was the man at the bottom of your screen, swimming in lane 8, Nick Nevitt. He doesn't have the greatest form in the world, but what a competitor he is. He turned at 50 meters in 31.49. He turns at 100 meters in 1:06.27. He's ahead of world record pace, and he's got a body length lead over the field, and it's like deja vu. It's the same race he swam in West Berlin in 78, but right now in lane 4, Moffitt is starting to come on. Barrett is still well back. In lane 7, Simons is coming on. Henkin is coming on a little bit, but it looks as though Moffitt and Nevitt are
think that Bill Barrett needs a lot of those turns when he swims in the shorter courses. When you go to the 50-meter course, he doesn't have those turns that he can use to propel himself so well.
Moffitt turned first at the 150-meter mark. He's taken the lead away from Nevitt. He turned in 1:42.27. They are now well off of world record and Olympic gold medal pace. Nevitt went out too fast. He's dying in lane 8. Moffitt has the lead. Barrett is not going to be able to catch him. The only man who's pressing him right now is the indoor champion, 18-year-old Glenn Mills in lane 5. There's Moffitt on your screen. You won't see Mills coming into the shot with him. It looks as though Moffitt will be able to hold on down the stretch, though it's going to be very close. Mills almost got there. Well, watch the board. And it is lane 5. Glenn Mills, an incredible finish over the last 10 meters. He touches out John Moffitt by 1/100th of a second. And that time of 2:18.78 would not have been good enough to get a medal at Moscow, as the breaststroke is the weakest of strokes for American men swimmers. But what an exciting race from this balanced field, and what an incredible finish with Glenn Mills coming on in the last 20 meters. Well, look again, Mark.
Well, Jim, you can see that Glenn Mills in lane number 5, which is at the lower part of your screen, the one with the cap on right now, lunges forward, drives his shoulders, times his last stroke right there, underwater. And it looked as though that John Moffitt glided in just a little bit too long. And up in lane number 2, John Hankin, 26 years old, got in there for the 3rd place.
That's right. So official results show Mills the winner, Moffitt in 2nd place, and Hankin in 3rd. The future and the past of American breaststroke swimming.
200-meter breaststroke.
United States Swimming 100-meter freestyle race. You see the world, American, and Olympic gold medal times. The American record holder, Kim Linehan, is the leading qualifier for this race and is swimming in lane 4. But right now, she is in 3rd place behind the woman on your screen, Cynthia Woodhead, swimming in lane 6, and also Mary Beth Linsmeyer in lane 3. Woodhead in the white cap toward the bottom of your screen, Linsmeyer in the yellow cap up in lane 3, and between them in the orange cap, Kim Linehan. Woodhead, the nation's top freestyle sprinter, but strong enough to swim this race and holding a lead right now over Linehan, the nation's top distance freestyle swimmer. Quite a contrast in styles and a great battle.
Woodhead is so impressive in her versatility. She won the 100 meters, and here she's gone out for the first 250 at what we would call a blistering pace, and she's still holding on, hasn't let up at all. Let's not count out Linehan. She won the 800. She would have beat the gold medal time at Moscow, and here she is coming to the 300. This is going to be an awfully tight race.
Coming down toward the 300-meter mark, they have been very close to world record time throughout the race. And as they touch, it is still Cynthia Woodhead with the lead, touching right at world record time. Kim Linehan still trying to catch her in lane 4. I'll tell you, Olympic gold medalist Ines Diers of East Germany would have a very, very tough time staying in a race like this. Both of these women would probably be capable of beating her in a 400-meter freestyle race. Less than 100 meters to go now, and Woodhead is still holding on against Kim Linehan.
This is the classic confrontation. You have Woodhead at the bottom, sprinter. She went out hard, and she's trying to hang on. You have Linehan, the great
championships. This is Jim Lampley along with Mark Spitz and Diana Nyad, and we're just about ready for the men's 200-meter freestyle race. The man you're looking at, Rowdy Gaines of Auburn University in Winter Haven, Florida. Indisputably the world's top freestyle sprinter, and just as indisputably one of this sport's most notable free spirits. For as Rowdy told us earlier, he finds no pleasure in the training grind which is necessary to bring a man to the top of this sport.
Oh, yeah. I'm not too crazy about the training. You know, when we go 60, 65 miles a week in the water and another 25 miles on land when we run, and there's not much social life to it, and it's not very fun, the training part of it, but I wouldn't trade it for anything, not for the record I got.
Why have you stayed in the sport?
That's a good question. If I had to do it all over again, I think I might take up tennis, where the money is. There's not too much money in swimming. You know, I just started out, you know, being from Florida and all the water down there. I guess I just wanted to go after the swimming team.
But your primary satisfaction comes from winning races and breaking records.
Right. That's about the only satisfaction there is. If I wasn't winning, I wouldn't be in it.
Now for the men's 200-meter freestyle race, and a chance for Rowdy Gaines to pick up his second individual championship of the meet. The world and American record 1:49.16 set by Gaines earlier this year. Olympic gold medal winner Sergei Koplyakov of the Soviet Union was 65 hundredths above that mark in his gold medal winning effort. Lane 1, Todd Trowbridge, 18 years old from Saratoga, California. Lane 2, 20-year-old Bill O'Brien from Houston, Texas. In lane 3, Richard Thornton, 21 years old from Concord Pleasant Hill Swim Team in California. Lane 4, Rowdy Gaines, the leading qualifier. Lane 5, Gaines' teammate from Auburn, Bill Forrester, now lives in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Lane 6, Olympic gold medalist in the 100 free at Montreal in '76, Jim Montgomery, 25 years old. Lane 7, 21-year-old David Larson of Jessup, Georgia. And in lane 8, an Olympic teammate of Mark Spitz in 1972, Doug Northway, formerly a distance freestyle swimmer. Rather remarkable to see him here in the finals of the 200-meter free. There's a good look at Rowdy Gaines, who would have been a decent bet to win as many as 3 or 4 gold medals in Moscow had he been able to go. World record holder in this event, and he expects his toughest competition to come from the man to the right of him on your screen in the blue bathing cap, Bill Forrester, who was world champion in the event 2 years ago.
One of the interesting things is that Forrester, if he wants to beat Gaines, is going to have to go out with him. And he's going to have a problem doing that, considering Rowdy is a faster 100 meters swimmer than Forrester. But if he can hang in there and psychologically just keep through the motions and stay relaxed and easy, he'd have a chance to mow him down at the last 25 meters.
The two swimmers know each other very well, having swum together at the place that has become the citadel of freestyle sprinting in the NCAA competition, Auburn University. At 50 meters, they split in 26:01, which is almost a second off of world record pace. And David Larson down in lane 7 is the man who has taken the lead right now. You might also look at Richard Thornton up in lane 3, normally a competitive butterfly swimmer. Right now, both Thornton, Larson, and also Doug Northway in lane 8 are ahead of Gaines and Forrester.
The interesting thing here is that Rowdy Gaines was actually swimming real close to Bill Forrester, and Forrester had moved over to his right side so that he wouldn't be dragging Gaines along. And the funny thing is that Richard Thornton, over lane number 3, took out the lead, and just before that 100 meters mark, Rowdy Gaines looked over to his left and saw him out there, and he's having to pick up the pace. As you can see, he still hasn't caught him.
Thornton turned first at 100 meters, as Mark Spitz said. Now they come down to the 150-meter mark, and Gaines has caught it. So it's going to be between Rowdy Gaines, the man to the bottom of him on your screen, Bill Forrester, and Richard Thornton just above him, who's swimming an inspired effort. They turned in 1:22.80 at 150 meters. That's very slow, so Rowdy will probably have something left, and he's showing it right now.
Well, Rowdy's breathing on his right side. He can see Forrester. Forrester does not normally breathe on his right side. Took a breath through his left, and it's just slowing him down.
Rowdy has scorched him in the last 50 meters. He is going to win easily. He touches in 1:50.02. Off of his world record. It would have been good enough at Moscow for a silver medal, but based on what we've seen here, we have to believe that this pool is somewhat slower than the Olympic pool at Moscow. Second place went to Thornton in a surprise in lane 3. Third place to Forrester in lane 5. And Rowdy Gaines showed his class with that comeback effort in the last 50 meters. Frog belongs to the most talented young woman on the American swimming scene. She's 15-year-old Mary T. Maher, world record holder in both the 100 and 200-meter butterfly events, unbeaten in her specialties since winning her first national championship a year ago in Fort Lauderdale. Mary's family of 11 people live in Louisville, Kentucky, but since January of this year, she has lived across the Ohio River in Cincinnati, a move made necessary by her attachment to the Cincinnati Marlins Swim Club and her coach, Denny Pursley. In Cincinnati, she lives with the whole family, their son Blake and daughter Melissa. It's a difficult adjustment, but early maturity is a way of life for world-class swimmers like Mary T. Maher.
You can't really think of, like, my parents being in Louisville and me being up here training, you know, spending my whole life training, putting pressure on you, you know, doing what you want to do, and that's why I'm up here, is to develop my swimming to my full potential. My whole family are backing me 100%. When I think of me holding the world record, to me, I see another girl, and it's like it never really dawns on me that it's me. and it's always another girl that I see in the back of my mind. And, you know, it really, like, thrills me to know that, you know, it is me.
There's a myriad of things that you are not supposed to do. All right? And one of the reasons we're doing this is for you to see the incredible amount of things that you're supposed to do as a swimmer. I mean, there's so many that there's no way to escape screwing up. How many people...
At Mary's level, swimming is as much a mental as a physical pursuit. With that in mind, she and the members of her swim club attend seminars on positive thinking.
I'd say really everybody needs it. It's just something where you get your mind on track, and it's not only for swimming, but it's for anything else you may want to do. Instead of getting nervous for a race, you get psyched for a race. I may not realize now what it's doing, but sometime in the future, I think I will look back and say, you know, hey, you know, it reflects on the classes that I'll be taking.
At some time in the future, she will also look back on the difficult summer of 1980. The summer she didn't get to go to the Moscow Olympics.
I think all the athletes are, you know, have to be disappointed, and it's what we've all been working for, and it's, you know, it's our cited goal. But again, it's all, for most of us, it's all been a dream, and it'll just have to stay a dream, and we'll just keep working for something new and something, you know, something that's going to take the place. And it may not be a gold medal, but it'll be something else, and we'll just work with that.
The something else, something that isn't just a dream for Mary T. Maher, is the chance to break a world record every time she enters the pool.
We're now going to see the championship final in the women's 100-meter butterfly event. World and American record 59.26 held by Mary T. Maher, set earlier this year. The Olympic gold medal time was more than a full second over that, set by Karen Netschuk of East Germany in her gold medal winning effort.
Step up, ladies.
And there she is. Already you have seen her break her own world record in the 200-meter butterfly here, swimming virtually without competition. Surprisingly, she is not the leading qualifier for this race. She'll be swimming in lane 3, but she is nevertheless the favorite against a very strong field.
Take your mark.
As they go into the pool, you see the rest of the swimmers in the field. You see Mary T's teammate in lane 2, Pennington, the former world champion. Diane Johanigman's very good. Tracy Calkins has already won 4 events here. Sturkle in lane 7, a former Olympian. But as they come down toward the 50-meter mark in the wall, already Mary T. Maher has a half body length lead.
She's looking for a split in the low 28-second region. I think after that incredible 200 fly world record she set earlier in the meet, yep, she's going to be on her way to it now, but she has a great chance for hitting it here. She remembers what it was like earlier. She knows she can do it by herself, and she has the added incentive here of having a few swimmers who are talented who are going to be right on her tail.
Tracy Calkins in lane 6 is the one who is pushing her right now, but as the camera goes in on Mary T. Maher, she is extending her lead coming down toward the wall. Remember, the world record is 59.26. The Olympic gold medal winning time was over a minute. Mary T. Maher touches in 59.41. She just missed it by 0.15 of a second. But another outstanding performance as she completes her sweep of both butterfly championships here and just misses a new world.
Magnificent talent Maher is. I can't wait to see what develops with her by the 1984 games in Los Angeles.
She's also swimming some freestyle events now, and she could become a real threat in those. Right now, she dominates the butterfly. Another victory for Mary T. Maher. Second place to Tracy Calkins. Third to Lisa Busey, and we'll be back.
Back in 1975,
Started the men's 100-meter backstroke race. And the man you're looking at in the yellow cap, Steve Barnacote, 18 years old, will be swimming in lane 7. Tough place to win a race from, but familiar territory for Barnacote, who was in lane 7 also earlier in the meet in the 200-meter backstroke race.
Now here's a look back at the finish of that 200-meter race. Remember, Barnacote in the customary yellow cap all the way to the left of your screen in lane 7. The men to beat, Jesse Vasayo up in lane 4, Peter Rocca in lane 6. As they came down toward the wall, it appeared as though both Vasayo and Rocca had an advantage over Barnacote, but watch the finish.
Barnacote timed the finish perfectly. Watch the flags he just passed, driving forward for the first place win just over Peter Rocca.
Barnacote won that race, Rocca second, Vasayo third. Now they're all back and ready for the 100-meter backstroke. World and American record 55.49, set by John Neighbor at Montreal 4 years ago. This year's Olympic gold medal winning time, a second over that John Neighbor world record, and John will be watching this race with extreme interest because the leading qualifier, that man, Bob Jackson, swimming in lane 4, swam in preliminaries today a time of 56:04, which is not only the best in the world this year, but the second best all time. Jackson, 1978 world champion in the event, just graduated from the University of Arizona, and a man who has shared domination in the United States in this event for the past few years with Peter Rocca.
Backstroke. Take your mark.
But what a field, because between lanes 2 and 7, you have 6 of the all-time 12 best performances ever in this event. Lane 1, Jesse Vasayo. Lane 2, Rick Carey. Lane 3, David Marsh. Lane 4, Jackson. Lane 5, Peter Rocca. Lane 6, Clay Britt. Lane 7, Steve Barnicoat, who won the 200-meter backstroke earlier in the meet. Lane 8, John Ings. As they come down toward the 50-meter mark, it's very close in the middle of the pool, but it looks like Clay Britt in lane 6, Peter Rocca in lane 5, and Bob Jackson in 4 are ahead. And as they come off the wall, Mark, it looks like Jackson's taking the lead.
Well, Jackson's stroke looks really, really nice. He's keeping his head perfectly straight. His chin is right on his chest so he doesn't bob his shoulders too much. Enables him to drop one of those shoulders left and right for each stroke. Although he's being pressured really heavily there by Peter Rocca in lane number 5.
Jackson and Rocca are coming down toward the wall together. They're just ahead of the rest of the field. It's going to be a very tight finish. Jackson straining, Rocca straining. It looks like Peter Rocca got there first. 56-64, yes, it is Rocca who has won the race. Jackson finishes second, and third place goes to the man up in lane 2, Rick Carey. But a lightning finish over the last 20 meters by Peter Rocca did it, and he upsets Bob Jackson. Jackson, who in the preliminaries had swum the second best time on the all-time list, and Jackson's performance here would have been good enough to get him a bronze medal in the Olympic Games. Rocca's performance here would have been good enough for a silver medal. Now we're going to have another look at the finish in slow motion. Lanes 4 and 5, Mark.
Peter Rocca, with the orange cap on, was driving his arms very, very smoothly and decisively right for the finish there. Drives underwater, touches underwater. Jackson had the touch at the top of the water, and that's what gave Peter the first place finish.
Well, those two men have dominated the backstroke sprints for the last few years in the United States. Sometimes one wins, sometimes it's the other. Today, it was Rocca, the winner. Bob Jackson in second place. Third place went to Rick Carey in lane 2, and they would have been good enough for silver and bronze at Moscow. Fastest field ever assembled for the men's 100-meter butterfly race. The world record in the event, 54:15, held by the man who also won the Olympic gold medal, Per Arvidsson of Sweden, who does most of his swimming in the United States at the University of California. American record, 54:18. That was formerly the world record, held by Joe Bottom, whom you'll see in this field. Lane 1, 24-year-old Sam Franklin. Next to him, in lane 2, you're going to see 18-year-old Matt Gribble from Miami, Florida, just graduated from Palmetto High School. There's Gribble, and he is one of 6 men in the field who qualified with times better than the Olympic gold medal winning time. Lane 3, Steve Smith, 18 years old from Florida. Lane 4, 25-year-old Joe Bottom, the man who, when he broke this world record in 1977, took away Mark Spitz's last competitive world record 5 years after Mark had retired. Lane 5, 21-year-old Jim Halliburton from St. Louis. Lane 6, Mike Bottom, Joe's brother, 24 years old from Santa Ana, California. Lane 7, 19-year-old Bill Paulus, a coming talent in the event from the University of Texas and Fort Worth. And lane 8, 19-year-old Jeff Stewart.
You may get wet if you please.
One of the interested spectators, Buster Crabbe, 1932 gold medalist in the Olympic 400-meter freestyle. It is perhaps not the first time, but certainly a rarity for brothers to appear in the same final. Mike Bottom on the right, Joe Bottom on the left. Joe is the better of the two in this event, the leading qualifier, the man who took Mark Spitz's world record away 5 years after Mark had retired from competitive swimming, and whose world record was broken only a few months ago by Per Arvidsson. Now they're in the water. Remember, Joe Bottom is in lane 4, Halliburton next to him in lane 5, Paulus in lane 7. That should be the race.
Joe Bottom got off to a very slow start. However, he's gaining back on the field. Joe hasn't been training as much as I know he'd like to because he has a full-time job. However, he has the capability to be able to put together a sprint. He's the fastest man in the 50-meter freestyle, and this should help him get out. He was off the blocks a little slow. Let's see what happens in the turn. He comes off the turn, and he's actually had a very poor turn. His brother turned ahead So did Jim Halliburton in lane number 5. They turned in 25:37, which is well ahead of world record pace. It doesn't look as though Joe Bottom is going to be able to get back into it, but here he comes. Now Mike Bottom is starting to drop back. Paulus in lane 7 is the man who may have the lead at this moment. It's going to be a blanket finish as they come down toward the wall. Paulus in 7, Gribble up in 2. Who touched first? Impossible to tell from here, but it looks as though Bill Paulus down in lane 7 has touched in 54:34, and he is the winner. Just 19/100ths of a second off of the world record. Bill Paulus, the 19-year-old from the University of Texas, is the man who came on strong in the last 25 meters to win that race. Now another look at the finish of the race in slow motion, and keep your eyes on Gribble in lane 2 toward the top of the screen, Paulus in lane 7 toward the bottom.
Paulus was able to come off with that win by driving his head forward, not taking a breath with the second to last stroke, arms lunging forward, exhausted, timing it just perfect for that effort to nail down the first place.
Disappointment for favorite Joe Bottom, who finished back in the pack, but a pleasant surprise for his brother Mike, who nailed down 3rd place. So final results, Paulus the winner, Gribble 2nd, Mike Bottom 3rd. The finishing times in the event would have been good enough for gold and silver in Moscow. Now as you look at the names of the swimmers who have won national championships here and who would have led the American swimming effort had it not been for the boycott, a final reflection on this meet. In an apparently slower pool than the one in Moscow, swimming a tighter schedule under tougher conditions, American swimmers held their own with their Olympic counterparts on the clock. We'll never know for sure, but it seems fair to suggest that American men's and women's teams built around Gaines, Bruner, Woodhead, Linehan, and Maher were the strongest in the world this year. Now this is Jim Lampley along with Mark Spitz and Diana Nyad saying goodbye from Irvine, California.
Tomorrow afternoon, be with us for ABC Sunday Afternoon Baseball beginning at 2 o'clock Eastern and 1 o'clock Harlech. Coordinating producer of ABC's Wide World of Sports is Dennis Lewin. United States Swimming Championships produced by Dick Buffington, directed by Larry Cann. AAU Weightlifting Championships produced by Bryce Wiseman, directed by Luvo Pacelli. Coordinating director Joe Assetti. Studio coordinator Carol Letty. Associate directors Vince D'Addario and Lou Frederick. Technical directors Jim Vreeling and Gene Affronti. Next Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the Summer National Drag Racing Championships, along with live coverage of the United States Platform Diving Championships. Travel arrangements made through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. That's what Friendly Skies are all about.
Fact. Prescribed skincare from Charles of the Ritz. Fact, not fiction.
Prescribed Skincare by Charles of the Ritz. Available at Carson Perry Scott.
There are many good reasons to select your upholstered furniture from Homers. We handcraft each piece with the care that makes each piece perfect. You can select any style you wish. Homers will custom cover it. We have hundreds of fabrics. And because you're buying handcrafted furniture directly from the manufacturer, you'll save money and enjoy exceptional beauty and comfort. Homers, with direct factory showrooms in Chicago, Lombard, and Skokie since 1912.
I can't always be there when the kids get home, but I always try to leave them something, a snack. I like these new Del Monte light fruits because they have less sugar added, 50% less than their regular canned fruits. But the kids just like the way it tastes. Even Billy, my youngest. It's more natural, more like I want their fruit to taste.
New Del Monte light fruit. There's a lot more to it than 50% less added sugar.